Dear viewers, fatigue is a known threat in aviation. What if? The real danger isn't just being tired, but being subtly incapacitated without even realizing it. Subtle incapacitation refers to a state where a crew member is technically conscious but cognitively compromised. Unlike overt fatigue, this condition is harder to detect and often misinterpreted as distraction, moodiness, or even complacency. In aviation, we have duty time limits, controlled rest, and fatigue risk management systems. Despite these measures, this remains one of the most underestimated risks in modern aviation that can affect even the sharpest, healthiest, and the highly skilled aircrew without sufficient warning. Today, we go beyond fatigue to uncover the silent risks that hide in plain sight. In aviation, incapacitation is usually categorized in two types. First, sudden incapacitation, which is obvious, dramatic, immediately disabling. Second, subtle incapacitation, which is quiet, progressive, and often unnoticed, even by the person experiencing it. Subtle incapacitation doesn't knock a pilot out. Instead, it silently degrades his judgment, situational awareness, psychomotor coordination, and decision-making. In this scenario, the dangerous part is that the pilot may still be talking and working on controls, but no longer performing at a level that is required for a safe flight. Studies indicate that subtle incapacitation can arise from many physiological and cognitive factors. Here are the most common contributing conditions. 1. Hypoxia at high altitude. Even with pressurization, mild hypoxia can cause reduced cognitive performance, tunnel vision, impaired judgment, euphoria, or overconfidence. And because it develops slowly, many pilots fail to self-identify the impairment. 2. Dehydration. A loss of just 1 to 2% of body water can reduce cognitive performance by up to 10%. In long-haul operations, low humidity and high workload quietly exacerbate dehydration without obvious symptoms. 3. Subclinical illness. Imagine flying with the early onset of influenza, or a minor stomach infection, or a mild sinus block. The pilot may feel okay, but actually have reduced situational awareness, slower reaction time, and impaired multitasking. 4. Stress and cognitive saturation. High workload, complex ATC instructions, or abnormal situations can overload mental capacity, causing fixation, missed call-outs, task shedding, or poor monitoring. This is a subtle form of cognitive incapacitation, not physical, but it is equally dangerous. 5. Medications and circadian disruption. Even over-the-counter medications, like antihistamines or cold medicines, can cause mild sedation or slowed processing. And circadian rhythm misalignment, like during early morning or red-eye operations, can magnify these effects. History of aviation shows that many incidents and accidents weren't caused by dramatic failures, but by insidious cognitive degradation of the aircrew. In this regard, some of the examples include crew failing to respond to pressurization warnings, missed altitude callouts, mismanaged approach modes, or fixation during abnormal situations. Often, investigators note that the crew was fatigued, hypoxic, dehydrated, stressed, or physiologically compromised. In many cases, the pilots never realized their performance had degraded. That's the essence of subtle incapacitation. It hides in plain sight. Recognizing subtle incapacitation requires vigilance, both internally and as a fellow crew member. Signs to be observed by the affected pilot themselves are difficulty in concentrating, feeling foggy or unusually slow, fixating on one task, missing simple details, overconfidence or unusual calmness, or mild dizziness or warmth. On the other hand, signs to be observed by the fellow pilot are unusual quietness or withdrawal, missing radio calls, slow checklist responses, poor monitoring, repeating the same question, or incorrect switch selections. Remember, as a crew member, if something seems abnormal, be sure that it is. Positive aviation safety culture encourages speaking up, and subtle incapacitation is exactly the kind of scenario where it matters most. Dear viewers, the good news is that risk of subtle incapacitation can be mitigated with proactive strategies. 1. Oxygen discipline. Use oxygen early at high altitude or whenever feeling off. Remember, if in doubt, put mask on. 2. Hydration and nutrition. Drink water regularly. Don't wait for thirst. Avoid excessive caffeine as a substitute for alertness. 3. Personal health management. If you're unwell, even slightly, evaluate whether you're truly fit to fly. A minor illness on the ground can become a major risk at altitude. 4. Crew monitoring cultures. Encourage open communication within the cockpit. If you observe degradation in your colleague, call it out professionally. 5. Workload management. Use automation strategically, not passively. When things get busy, slow down, delegate, and verbalize actions. 6. Circadian awareness. Recognize the physiological challenges of window of circadian low operations. Anticipation is the key. We can conclude that subtle incapacitation doesn't grab headlines. It doesn't always appear in training scenarios, but it is a silent threat that every aviation professional must understand. Flying is a human-machine partnership, and the human side must be protected. Lastly, by recognizing the early signs, speaking up early, and taking proactive measures, we can stay ahead of this hidden hazard, thus keep every flight safe and efficient. Thanks for watching.